It's so lovely to have you on my program. And Anne is from the Minneapolis Seed Project and is a pioneer in researching healthy lifestyle and making sure that alternative medicine techniques are really recognized. And anyway, welcome, Anne.
I hope you're going to come to our conference next year.
Oh, for sure. Yes, for sure. I'm making sure that I don't schedule anything with that.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really interesting. And it's been so long since the last one that I really feel like the energy will be amazing. Hope so.
We'll have to do a video on that and put it out there too.
That'd be great. Yeah, I'm trying to do a video of combining, various aspects of, promo video. I'm working on that.
Yeah, well, I'll be happy to put it on my sites and everything.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm always happy to talk about my views. Yeah.
Food classification system called NOVA, N-O-V-A, and it's not an acronym. It was developed at the University of São Paulo in Brazil, and it assigns food to foodstuffs to the extent to which they've been industrialized. And what they said is that the NOVA classification system describes ultra-processed food as industrial formulations, that kind of scared me, that are created from food-based substances. They usually contain additives and are manufactured to be convenient and appetizing. And these ultra-processed foods are often referred to as cosmetic foods, which is kind of scary.
That is.
As compared to what we always call whole foods. And these ultra-processed foods are designed to taste good and to be inexpensive. So you want to comment on that a little bit?
Yeah. So this is really problematic for a variety of reasons. The companies that ultra process have a lot of money for advertising and promotion. I've often joked about that because, who's advertising broccoli, especially organic broccoli? That would be nobody. So, for example, I do a workout watching HGTV. Commercial comes on for cereal, and it says this cereal has so much fiber, your children will be, and it's choco nuts, whatever. I mean, I don't know the real names. I wouldn't, but so I went online and I read the ingredients, and yes, it does have fiber because it has oats or whatever, but it had a ton of sugar. It had a preservative. It had, artificial color, artificial flavor. But yeah, the company promoted the one true thing they could say, yeah, you'll get fiber from having this cereal, but everything else was terrible. So that's just the tip of the iceberg these days. And people don't realize it. Like, there's always rumors going around about the kind of meat used in the fast food restaurants, or what the French fries contain, or what the chicken nuggets contain. They're not really food. And, if that's what you eat, you think that's food because that's what you're used to. But if you had actual potato cut, let's say fries, even though I'm not a fan of deep fry, but if you ate the real thing, you wouldn't be able to go back to having their fake food because the flavor is missing, the value of it is missing nutritionally. When you eat that stuff, you're not getting any nutrients. This reminds me of the new concept plant-based. So plant-based is everywhere, and impossible meat,
Right.
So read the labels on that, you could lose your mind. Impossible, whatever, it's ultra processed. It's pretending to be a plant-based version of meat. It's not. It's a chemical-based version with a lot of additives and junk. And if you want to have plant-based food, eat plants, actual fruits, actual vegetables. But that's a really big issue because it's being heavily promoted. It's in all the restaurants. Now they always offer what they call a vegetable burger or a possible meat burger. Yeah. And it's totally processed food. And people are getting all the wrong ideas. I mean, it's possibly to be an unhealthy vegetarian. I was one, eating cake for dessert every day. I thought, Entenmann's cake, blah, blah, blah. Fine, not fine. And, if you want to be a vegetarian or a vegan, you have to eat actual fruit and actual vegetables and nuts and seeds and whole grain and all that kind of thing. It's not ultra processed vegan, vegetarian food or fake food. This is a real issue. And, the other issue that arose during this COVID time of isolation and shipment delays and all that is that so many countries grow just a cash crop.
Mm.
They only grow coffee or they only grow sugarcane or they can't feed their populations. And when things couldn't go back and forth, this became really serious. And it's still really serious right now. There were shortages and delays. And then when you throw in global climate change, fires, very, very hot, the way that we grow things has to change because the climate's different than what was originally known, and products aren't good, um, plants aren't going to be able to grow in the same way. But we're all asleep at that wheel. And to have a country that is fertile but doesn't grow any food products because they export their cash product, I mean, it's scary. And it's really a big problem now, and so frustrating. I was talking to my husband yesterday about maybe I'll put a greenhouse behind my house and grow my own food, but I doubt I will. But it's a thought.
Well, yeah, I know myself. I make on my own. I don't really call them baked goods because I usually make them low sugar. We don't have pastry around here, but I'll do muffins made out of almond flour and things like that for my husband. But the problem is that these foods are meant to be addictive because they taste good and they're inexpensive. And I'll never forget, I believe it was Lay's potato chips when I was little. Their commercial was that you can't just eat one.
Yeah, clever.
Yeah, and it's true. You just can't if you want more of it because your body's not getting any nutrients from the food. So you're not getting that signal of feeling full. And they're basically tricking you into eating more of their product, which is profitable, obviously, for them.
Yeah, it's scary, isn't it, that not real food would be more profitable, but this is a problem of our government too. In the United States, we supplement the meat people and some of the unhealthy stuff. We give them support, financial support, and that's a mistake. And the way the financial support lays out, and it's been known for years, supports all the wrong things, all the wrong foods. And we really should switch it around in the same way that we want to switch the certification of pesticide users versus organic version. We got to do the same thing with where the agricultural support is going. It supports large farms. We see it all the time. There's news stories. Small farms are going out. Small farms are going out. Why? Because builders come and say, "Oh, we can build condos on your property. You don't need that farm anyway in your family, and it's a lot of work," which it is. But a factory farm has been a disastrous direction because they're agriculturally supported to use the cheapest methods, and it's really horrible. I mean, I'm basically a vegan, and I don't even try to explore. Whenever I see anything about it, I mean, the way animals are treated is unbelievable. And one of my feelings is, if your animal dies in pain and suffering, how can cytokines, hello, things are produced, and then people are eating that? It can't be good.
Right.
I mean, where is all the depression in the world coming from? Everybody's depressed, and it's a combination of things. I think the chemicals, the bad things going on in the world, but there are always bad things, but now we know about them intimately, daily, and but it's also, in my opinion, this the negative impact of bad food, and it's really scary. I mean, it really is. It's a nightmare that we're all trapped in, and people don't realize it. I mean, even families that can afford better, the kids still go to McDonald's or KFC or wherever. I mean, when I first became a vegetarian, I was traveling for business, and I'd be with my crew in a city, and people would want to go to Wendy's for lunch. It's Wendy's, so they had a salad. I would have the salad. I'd have a baked potato, nothing on it, and sometimes I would have the hamburger, but not the hamburger. Have the bun, the special sauce, the lettuce, tomato. I mean, and the pickle, whatever. Because I there was nothing to eat. It was really difficult, and things have gotten a lot better. But again, we were talking about the price, and the price is really a problem. And ultra processed food is cheaper. I mean, it's getting agricultural support. It's all wrong. We have to shift that around. It has to be that fruits and vegetables are promoted, and the government should promote it. It's in their interest to have healthy people. I mean, bottom line, especially for seniors, Medicare is paying all the health costs. I mean, they're trying desperately to get to be able to negotiate the cost of drugs. What a thing. We can't negotiate the cost of drugs because why? because pharma has a lot of lobbyists and they're very successful. That's crazy. So if Medicare prices were lower, let's say, it wouldn't cost the government and the country and the taxpayers so much money because people would be shown healthy versions. I mean, I knew this guy, his wife died, and he told me that since she died, he never had any fruits or vegetables. None.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend who doesn't eat no berries, she eats broccoli once in a while. And I have a sister who doesn't eat any of that. But I think too, it started when everything became packaged. I think like in the 50s. I remember in the 50s when you and I talked about in another episode about, the TV dinners and then the fast food industry. Like I know when I was teaching, I taught in a school that the parents were affluent, but the kids were going to soccer and ballet and piano lessons and then going to McDonald's on the way home because to get home and cook a meal at that time of evening, get homework done. So it's not just people of lower income levels that we need to educate, right? It's all people that this is not good. And they're not our television, news stations are not basically doing us any favors. And also the food manufacturers aren't telling the truth.
Yeah, I think they promoted the idea that it was so easy to, so difficult to cook and so complicated, and chopping up vegetables like it was going to take you an hour, but it doesn't. I mean, I can whip a meal together in 20 minutes and I'm not even a cook, but it's possible to do things easily, but everyone got scared. The whole idea was this will save you time. All you have to do is order a pizza or have this fast food thingy, bring home a bunch of hamburgers or whatever it is, and you don't have to cook. But it's really not that complicated, and we've made it sound so impossible, and that's really bad. It starts up here when people think it's possible, right? If you think it's possible, it is. If you think it isn't, it is. I mean, however you think, that's the way it is. If you think it can't be done, it can't be done. If you think it can be, you can do it. So we've trained people to expect, it's just going to take so long to make a meal. Oh my goodness, it doesn't. Turkey, yeah, that's a long cook. But everything else can be pretty quickly prepared, especially if you leave off the meat.
Well, also, I think that it's the matter of parents having the time to shop and pay attention to what they're buying and plan out the meal. I think a good positive turn has been things like Green Chef and Purple Carrot. Their meal plans that you get the kit and it's all organic and it comes to you and you put it together. But even that, it's expensive.
Yeah, of course. And
right.
That's an issue. And of course, we haven't even mentioned food deserts where you can't even get decent food. You live in a poor neighborhood, and that's a problem, big problem. I just went to EWG, the Environmental Working Group site, and they have an article that says, for decades, the FDA knew toxic forever chemicals were dangerous, but continued to allow their use. Starting in the 1960s, so 1960s, again, going back to the fact that our entire lives have been lived under the aegis of horrendous chemicals, and they are cumulative. And when we get older, you got a lot of chemicals going. I try and detox every day with as many different varieties of detox as possible, and there are many varieties, because it's just so much, and we're in a chemical soup all the time. And to see that, animal studies showed chemicals caused harm even months after exposure ended. Industry studies show they could migrate from paper and paperboard food packaging into food, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it's only recently that PFAs, as they call them, have been noted. And, you mentioned BPA in our last talk. So BPA was taken out. It turns out there's
more, other ones.
There's a lot of chemical initials. Yeah, they're still there. So, and the other problem is, try and buy berries. Well, how are you going to take them home? They're in a plastic container, right, for the most part.
Right.
And or single serving things are in a plastic container. And then when we recycle, we got 50 plastic containers at the end of the week, and you've been trying not to do that. It's just sad. It's really, really difficult. We all bring our own shopping bags with us now to the supermarket, which is a great development, and hopefully continue. But containers, I mean, I try and leftovers in my house go into glass containers. They usually have a silicone based plastic top, but glass
right.
containers, because at least my food is not in plastic, because plastic leaches, hot or cold, in my opinion, it leaches all the time,
Right.
constantly. And we know that with packaged food too. So you try to unpackage it as soon as possible and put it into glass containers. And it's not that difficult. I mean, there are companies that make lightweight glass containers, not as cheap as plastic, not as lightweight as plastic, but safer. I mean, and you have to make some judgment calls too, about what that value of your health and your family's health versus the cost. You have to think about it. I mean, the decision certainly in my household was go for the safest, healthiest versions of food if possible. And I think that makes a difference. But
Well,
it's a shame that it takes the cancer diagnosis to put our minds in the right place.
I know, and I say that you either pay the grocery store or you pay the doctor. You can
Right,
choose.
exactly.
Choose. Well, it's interesting because I recently just changed over to laundry sheets. I buy, as non oppressive laundry detergent as possible, as clean, I should say, as clean as possible. But I just discovered these coconut, they're called coconut things, and should get the right name for it, and they work amazing, and they're just sheets, and they're organic, and you just,
The
you
dryer you're talking about?
no, I don't do dryer sheets. This is laundry sheets.
Laundry.
And I'll have to put a thing on the back of this, and it's all organic ingredients. The primary ingredient is coconut oil.
Mhm.
And but like things like that, the packaging, and like you said, I try really hard, but my recycle bin is full. And the upsetting thing is that I'm not even sure that gets recycled.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of
You know?
question about it. And
Right.
it's, yeah, what are they doing with it? I mean, it says subject to, able to be recycled. Nobody
Mhm,
really knows what that means. And I
mhm.
think that's a definite problem, because it's possible that these are landfill that we don't want to happen. But, I drink water out of a glass bottle. It's heavier. I carry it with me everywhere I go because I don't want to use plastic. I don't even like plastic in my lips. So I don't
Mhm,
drink from any plastic unless I absolutely have to.
mhm.
So that helps. But and we know if you have your plastic bottle of water in your car, it
Yeah,
gets hot,
it
it's
leaches, I know.
inevitable. And then, yeah, stuff leach out. And,
Mm.
and the problem we have is we, the people, have to prove that the chemical is unsafe. Otherwise, it just comes right in. It does not have to be proved to be safe when there's a new chemical, or even the old ones. We have to prove it's unsafe, which is completely insane. But that favors the manufacturers of chemicals, which are basically the fossil fuel based stuff. And that's a crazy thing too. I mean, it's completely off track for our nation to have to do that for people. And there's always articles that say Europe's ahead of us. They don't allow these kind of chemicals, and you refer to that they have a better chemical than we do. Like, it's
Mm.
not so. The chemical, our lobbyists rule. They rule. We have the best Congress money can buy. It's proven every single day with all the crazy things they do, including now, still in this time of fires and floods and giant storms and everything like that. They're still denying climate change because it impacts the current profit motive, which is insane. I mean, what are you going to do in 15 years? I mean, it's crazy. It really is. And it's not just one senator. It's a lot of them. They're
No,
just completely blind to
the
reality.
chemical and food lobby is so powerful, and
So
they
powerful.
don't they don't care about the effects on health. And one of my other uh, posts that I talk about, you and I talked about, I think last time, high fructose corn syrup is in everything. And you don't think about that when you read it. And that's like when I had my kids, the big thing was BHA, BHT. At least I knew that much. But the other chemicals, and the soda industry, I know that's one of your pet peeves, is
Uh,
ridiculous. The kids drink so much soda.
So
And
apropos of that, there was a big meeting about soda some years ago in Washington, D.C., which I went to. And the talk was all about stopping um, sugar laden soda. And
mhm,
I said in the meeting, what about fake sugar? Because that ain't great either. In fact,
mhm,
it might be worse in some ways. It's hard to balance that. It's bad, not necessarily worse. But people stood up and said, no, 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 we have to focus on the sugar. And I said, no, we have to focus on saying soda's really crappy for you. Why are we even doing this? It should be no soda. But I'm a no soda person because it's
Yeah.
just not good. But they felt very strongly, and that's what happened, that the no sugar movement became very strong. So then people are having aspartame and other, whatever the sugars they use, I don't pay attention, but it could be high fructose, very unhealthy. And we know they cause lots of other problems. And it's very unfortunate. I mean, it's like a halfway measure, and halfway is really not good enough.
No, and I think that we're not realizing that these chemicals are causing these metabolic disorders. And of course, the sugar, which isn't labeled as sugar necessarily, there's a million different names of sugar, is responsible for the type 2 diabetes epidemic that we have now. And also diet soda. I was guilty of that before I got breast cancer. My kids in my class would give me a 6-pack of Diet Coke for my Christmas gift. They're probably trying to kill me, maybe. I don't know. But like most people that drink diet soda are overweight because it makes you want to eat other things. And
Yeah, I think it unsets the balance, the point,
Yeah.
the balance point, whatever they call it. And that's a problem too. But there's so much, there's so many issues in here to unpack. I mean, so autoimmune disease, everybody's got them. What's going on? Depression, everybody's depressed. What's going on? Diabetes, unbelievable. Um, it's there's so many huge problems, I think, related to the environment and the food we're eating, and that's ignored. And then, my sister and my brother had diabetes. My sister has diabetes. So she just switched drugs, and she had every adverse effect known from the drug. Of course, the doctor saying, no, no, no. That's a standard. Everyone's heard that from your doctor. Oh, yeah, the headache. No, it's not related. And you're going, yeah, I just took the drug yesterday for the first time and I got a terrible headache. No, no, no. So, all these drugs, A, they don't cure. What a surprise. And B, they cause a lot of problems. So you have to balance which problem are you willing to accept in order to control the diabetes that you shouldn't have had in the first place, because of lifestyle. And I have met people, and I know people personally who have controlled their diabetes through lifestyle. Can be done. But that's the last thing we suggest when you come to your doctor's office. Doctors know nothing about nutrition or lifestyle, minimally. So they're not going to suggest it. And besides, they're used to writing prescriptions. And that's it. It's really, really frustrating. I mean, we can say, okay, cancer, that's a hard thing to cure. I don't even believe in the C word of cure, but diabetes, why are we accepting this half-assed, no, treatment for the rest of your life while the disease gets worse? Your kidneys get harmed, and we'll have to take your foot off by the time you're 80. And, you didn't need that foot anyway. We'll take the other one, and it just keeps coming. And it's not just diabetes, it's all of them. We treat all these diseases with drugs that cause problems. And, in cancer, we've been trained to accept terrible adverse effects, but it's okay because we're treating cancer. Don't complain. We're curing your cancer, but you're not really curing it because, it can come back. There's something wrong with all these parameters. And of course, they lobby Congress too. I think pharma's actually there's some articles that say that pharma has like 2 to 3 lobbyists per congressperson, like 1,500 lobbyists or whatever. Scary.
Really scary. And also, processed foods can actually contain more chemicals than they list on the labels.
Oh, that's a bad one.
Yeah, yeah. And also, there was a special on 60 Minutes where they were showing this lab where they make these artificial flavors and artificial colors. And it was disgusting what some of the stuff is made out of. But also, when they say natural flavoring, right? It could not, but they don't tell you what it is. It's natural could be from crushing up bugs or something like that, because
it has no legal meaning.
Right, it has no legal meaning.
Yeah.
Just like when you look
that's
at
a
a
big
package
problem.
of chicken, it says all natural. Well, the chicken wasn't, artificially grown, but it doesn't mean that it's healthy,
Yeah, it's a problem that the words, and FDA is to blame. They haven't taken charge of that. I mean, they've been underfunded for years, and they make a lot of errors, but it's really sad because they're charged with protecting us, and it's really not working out well. It just isn't. I mean, the word natural having no legitimate legal meaning, that means, and people read that, I say, if it doesn't say organic, it's not organic. And people say to me all the time, well, how do you know it's organic? And I say, well, I know one thing for sure. If it doesn't say organic, it's laden with pesticides and everything else that goes with that, artificial colors, artificial flavors. So you have a better shot if it's labeled organic, and it's tough. It's really tough. There's so many issues, and we have to protect the children because their little bodies are getting the exposure of the same exact chemical exposure that we get, but they're only a third of our size or whatever, half our size. It's just a big issue, really, really shocking.
And most products that are made with white flour and high refined carbohydrates, they really have no nutritional value, like you're talking about the cereal. And
yeah.
so they're really not getting the nutrients they need for their bodies.
So, apropos of that, bringing it back to the cancer world, you ever read the Ensure label or Boost or any of the
Yes.
artificial drinks?
Yes.
Years ago, a good friend of mine went into a coma. She was hospitalized. I went to the hospital room. She had a stomach tube, and they poured artificially vanilla flavored Ensure into her stomach. And this woman was an organic vegan like me. And I started to cry. And I said to her husband, she wouldn't want this. This is just crazy. And he said, well, the doctor ordered it. So now I read the label recently on a product that was in a study, that they were saying, oh, this really helped the people. But it doesn't really help. What are you comparing it to? Nothing versus these artificial and synthetic, which don't enter the cell. They can't get into the cell. So what are you actually doing? It's the most minimal, but compared to nothing, hey, this is fantastic. Look at this, but it shouldn't be compared to nothing. Once again, the comparator has to be reasonable. So there are 3 or 4 companies that I could think of that have excellent possible use for this kind of thing, but they don't get a chance. A company was at our conference, the last one in 2020, Nutronco, and they make a product for people going through chemo that gives them back the nutrients, because we all know chemotherapy robs your body of nutrients. That's why you feel like crap, the fatigue and and it takes a while to recover. Could take a year even, because your nutrients are so lowered. And not just Nutronco, there's Kate's Farm, there's Orgain, and a couple of others like that make products that can be used along with treatment to give you back the boost that you need. But Ensure or Boost, those products, if you read the label, everything's artificial, everything's synthetic. And I've known for years that artificial and synthetic do not enter a cell wall. That's a very important thing. They're not giving you the nutrients in real life. They're just doing it compared to nothing. Wow.
Our bodies don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Because it's not really a food.
That's right. It's not recognized appropriately. It's just off track. But again, compared to nothing. And also they're pushed by large pharmaceutical divisions of pharmaceutical companies, or Abbott, which has all sorts of nutritional products with no nutrition, and that's really a problem. I mean, they could make decent products, but somehow they don't. They're like hand in glove with the artificial stuff, and it never occurs to them to go anywhere else. Maybe they don't have enough knowledge, or they're, there's like schools of thought that don't talk to each other. So it's possible that their chemists just don't know anything about natural in the real world sense of natural being legitimately organic or safe or healthy or nutrient dense. They may not know about it because they were trained in the chemical laboratory. And, organic chemicals, that's what they call chemistry is organic chemistry, because it's from nature, but it isn't anymore. And it's so off track. But these separate tracks, these separate worlds just don't collide. I wish they would. I've often talked about that. I feel like, if you know about lifestyle, you're not allowed, you don't know about how to conduct a research study. And if you know about research, you don't know anything about lifestyle or nutrients, or it's wrong. Why can't we all get together? I think someone said that once before, but we really should be on the same page. We're not. We're so separate. Crazy.
Well, they have studies out there that show that sugar is causing chronic inflammation. Well, when you have chronic inflammation in the body, you're setting yourself up for some sort of disease of various kinds. And even in the case of the autoimmune diseases, where the body there's so much going on, but nobody really talks about it to warn, I guess, parents and say, this is what's going to happen to your kids later on.
Well, and school food. I mean, school food, there's so much nonsense that goes on with school food, but they're getting better. But every time they get better, then the administration changes and they come back and say, oh, no, it doesn't matter. You don't need those things, go back to having junk food. But it's not okay. And that, at our conferences, in fact, it comes up every year. We serve only organic food. And we basically, at this point, serve vegan and vegetarian food only. And people eat it and they say to us, this is so fresh, it's so delicious. And because real spices are used, not just salt and pepper, real flavor things, and spices are herbs, which are very helpful for our bodies. And anytime there's research done, you discover new value, new benefit. And but also people go to the bathroom after they eat real food, and then they're scared because that's not the way they're used to. Because when you eat no real food, that doesn't happen. So people would say, "Oh, the food was great, but I was in the bathroom so much." Go, whoa, that's more normal than not. That's what you probably needed. And in fact, that's why I became a vegetarian. I mentioned in earlier, I was constipated for most of my young life. Young, I say young, I'm basically up to the age of like 30. It was absolutely disastrous. But I managed to work it out. It took a long, long time. But these people experienced it from having real food, organic, healthy, fresh food. And that was very exciting. And, the lecturers, of course, are speaking about that. Almost every talk includes nutrition because it's really the basic thing. And of course, it's what's in our control. So that's really important. We have to control what we can. We have to. I mean, making lifestyle changes makes sense. Unfortunately, people come to it after a diagnosis of disease, which is unfortunate. It'd be great if we if the kids know from age 7, like, or 6 or 5 or whatever, they can start to understand. I know people who raise vegetarian kids, and they're healthy, they're fine, they're fine. I know people who raise kids with homeopathic medicine, they're fine too.
Yeah, my one son, his kids are vegetarian. But as I told you when we spoke last, what really upset me was at ASCO, here's this cancer conference, and the Advocate Lounge had nothing healthy in it to eat. They gave us lunch every day, but I actually had to go downstairs, and there was a salad setup bar, and it wasn't organic even, but there was nothing healthy in the in the Advocate Lounge. And I mentioned that to the 2 ladies who were monitoring the lounge, and they said, I said, you should have a vegan option. And they're like, well, we never really thought about it. I guess we should. But if you can't find it there, you're not going to find it. I don't know. I just thought it was ridiculous.
So, and at ASCO a while back, the FDA said you can't give away these incredible gifts to doctors that you give ordinarily. I mean, I came home once with a foldable suitcase for your suit, your dress or your wedding gown. I mean, it was probably a $50 gift, but hey, they could afford it. It's our money,
Right.
But they now do food, but they don't do food. They do sugar, candy, cake, sweetened drinks. I mean, that's what you do. You go from booth to booth to booth. And I noticed the last time I was ASCO, which was quite a few years ago now, maybe 2018, 2019, I can't recall, but people were coming to the Advocate booths and picking up candy. And I said to the advocates, like, this is a message you really shouldn't want to convey, and I actually took pictures at a lot of the booths that they all had candy. So then I said, hey, the dentistry industry thanks ASCO so much. It's great. Our oncologists will have no teeth by the end of 10 more years, unbelievable. But that's what was happening, candy. And, they come to your booth looking for candy. What? We're not showing candy. We're showing information and advice and stuff that you can benefit from it, not candy. But anyway, weird.
Really I did manage to find one, actually, it's a pharmaceutical company that was doing avocado toast.
Wow.
But it wasn't on whole grain bread.
It's a step in the right direction. But like I said, these streams of thought somehow don't collide. It's amazing. They could be advised of what would be a healthful version, but they're just not into it. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's shocking. And it's not like this is new news. It's been around for a while. I mean, they could come to it. Anyway, I have a very early lunch, so
you have to go. Okay.
Goodbye,
well, anyway, I didn't mean to keep you this long. Thank you so much.
Okay.